Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today I want to talk to you about the Leagues of Votann and how they've just finally released all of the Hearthkyn, I think they're called, the Thane with their kin, and how they look like the perfectly preformed kill team. Because that's right, it's another slow kill team news day, and I haven't done any sort of data analytics or anything, and I haven't, so I'm just kind of making stuff up. Anyway, if you don't know, on the Warhammer Community website, they recently posted the rest of the basic squad of squats. They're called the Hearthkyn, the Leagues of Votann, because squats are technically the entire race. Leagues of Votann is a faction within the squat race. And the basic squad, like you might get tactical marines or intercessors or legionaries now, we now get Hearthkyn. Cool. So home brothers, essentially. Homeboys. Did they actually just call them homeboys? Nice. I'm into that. That's insane. For those of you that... Now, I haven't been blown away by the squats, the Leagues of Votann. I'm gonna be honest. Like, aesthetically, I've been very much on the back foot. I don't quite know if I'm hyped for them or not. But I saw the rest of these, and when I saw what some people were saying, like, oh, these are literally ready-made to just be a kill team. Almost in the same way that recently the Corsair Void Guard were both a regular squad, a troop slot, and an elite slot in the Craftworld Codex. I think these could be a very similar thing. So, I'm going to read through the article, and I'm going to look at some cool models and see what they could quite possibly be. And then, we're just going to try and guess, like, what could they do? If you don't know, obviously, you might be wondering, Glass, what's this? What are you doing? Why are you in nature, yet subjecting me to a laptop and a gamer headset? Well, that's because I couldn't get my my wireless Lavalier mics to work, so don't ask me, man. Don't ask me. So anyway, I saw this article drop, and I immediately did that thing that I think a lot of us do. Drop a comment if you do this too, or if you don't get why people. But I saw this, and after being like super on the fence about the Leagues of Votann, like I wasn't blown away by the first Hearthkyn they showed. I didn't much care for the hover trike, and then they showed something else, and I can't remember what, but I equally wasn't too fussed. Oh, the Necromunda Iron World, whatever they are. I was like, their helmets look silly. So anyway, they dropped this, and I saw the rest of the squad, and then because I, of course, am interested in kill team, I was like, that's a kill team. That right there is a kill team. I then caved, and on the back of the Necromunda Book of the Outlaws being apparently pretty solid as like... So, Book of the Outlaws, this is a skirmish channel, not just a kill team channel. The Necromunda Book of the Outlaws I was not given, so cannot review, unfortunately. I've bought it though, turning up at some point. Apparently gives you some really like flexible ways to build vehicles in Necromunda. Like, you know, build your own vehicle. Like, here's a whole... You have multiple hull attachments. The more hull attachment points you have on a vehicle of your choosing, you know, the more it costs, but then you just put whatever you want on them, sort of thing. I was like, that sounds pretty cool. So I went out and I bought like an Achilles Ridge Runner, a Goliath, a Rock Grinder Goliath, and then a box of the Iron Head Weld Watts for Necromunda. I just suddenly got hyped for them, and the idea that there's something really cool about having an all-new faction. Yeah. I never really had that nostalgia kick for Sisters of Battle. So I wasn't like, oh, I've got to go and get an all-new Sisters army, as that was the last 40k Sisters, like, new army. Now it's squats, and even though I'm still a little bit on the fence, I think there's enough there for me to work with, especially if we're going to be seeing kind of going forwards this almost design interlacing between regular squad and elite squad, and the elite squad being the ready-made kill team. I really like that. I haven't talked too much about thematically how much I like the fact that the Corsair Voids Guard are just exactly as they are as an elite option in the Craft World 40k book, but then if you give them the crap guns, they become a troop squad in the Craft World book. I actually really like that. I haven't talked about it much, but anyway, okay. So we now have Leagues of Votann. I'm going to quickly read through it, just so I don't miss anything. After many millennia of isolation, the Leagues of Votann are returning to the galactic stage, are ready to dirty their hands, protect the holds, and defend their way of life. When we first announced the return of the Ancient Factory, we showed off a single Hearthkyn warrior, the one I was a little bit shaky on. Well, now here's a whole squad. We're going to get to them in a moment. These hardy clone warriors form the core of the kin hosts, and unlike the Adeptus Astartes, they are not bred solely for war. These soldiers are citizens drawn from the populace of the holds, regardless of gender, job, or social role. They're kin who have undergone rigorous martial training, yes, but they also have fulfilling lives outside of war. Just a minor side note. When it comes to the Marines, I'm not defending Marines. I think they're questionable at best, but it is very, very often made a point that although, yes, they are dedicated to war, they all perfect the art of war in other ways. So, for example, Blood Angels, quite famously, will always be weaving a tapestry, painting stuff, sculpting. You know, they live. Yes, they view everything through the lens of war, and they do that thing as an attempt, you know, the thing that is not war, as an attempt to perfect war, but they still do other things. Anyway, moving on. Hearthkyn warriors are often engineered with particular clone skins. Clone skin. They're probably Swedish, right? Clone skin, I don't know. That allow them to specialize in combat, heightened senses, improved stamina, and the ability to see better in the dark, to name but a few. In contrast, others augment their bodies for battle with mechanical limbs and synthetic organs. Held an equal status in League society, Ironkin also fight shoulder to shoulder with their flesh and blood comrades. Kin a kin. War. Then we see a few little up closes. Now, perhaps I'm overthinking it, but it seems like, assuming we have a 10-man squad, which we do, I'm already seeing, you know, GW's new style is you double up on poses. And they're not being shy about showing which poses you're going to be doubling up on here. Which normally is in the form of the legs, right? Like the legs, you'll have two bodies where they are, you know, left foot forward, two bodies with right foot forward, one body, legs akimbo, right? But now, because GW is moving more towards this style of monopose, like very heavily monopose, you can see on the screen right here, the bottom left and right picture there, they have their left arm in the same position, which is very odd because the arm is different, but it must be fused at the torso. I don't know. Anyway, cool. Each unit of Hearthkyn numbers 10 to 20 strong and is led by an experienced Thane. These doughty squad leaders have the honour and responsibility of commanding their fellow kin and are able to arm themselves. This is the reason I was reading this entire article, sorry. Arm themselves with a variety of hand-to-hand combat weapons, including brutal concussion, gauntlets, and vicious plasma axe. We know they could take some sort of plasma axe and some sort of gauntlet, which would be like a power fist, but not as good. And also, we see this guy here with a sword. So, 3 combat options. We also see what looks like some sort of bolt pistol and what looks like a plasma pistol. Read on, realise they have slightly different names, but are probably the same thing. Players communicate with their squad with the aid of cybernetic implants, relaying strategic instructions for the commanders of the Oathband to their units, who carry specialised heavy weaponry such as L7 missile launchers, Eticon, plasma beamers, and Magna rail rifles. So, Magna rail rifles, we see this guy here. The thing that looks like a rail rifle from the towel there is almost certainly actually a Magna rail rifle, which is, what's that going to do? So Magna makes me think melter, that a long-range melter. Pretty cool. And then who knows what the rest is, right? L7 missile launcher, Eticon plasma beamer. The top left there definitely looks like a plasma beamer, I assume, because the blue glow. Anyway, these units work effortlessly in conjunction with one another, regardless of their specialization. Some are tasked with sundering the defenses of heavily armored opponents with ion blasters and high-las auto rifles, while others capture battlefield objectives and lay down a hail of saturated fire with their autarch pattern bolters. So interestingly, Autarch patterns. Autarch are of course Craftworld leaders. So Autarch pattern bolters. So immediately we've been throwing about 5 different weapons into a single squad. And the implication that I suspect from a 40k perspective, you'll buy 1 box of Hearthkyn warriors and they can be loaded out either with, there'd be the same 10 core bodies, but if you want to go, they can all have the high las auto rifles, or they can all have the ion blasters, and then that dictates whether they're a troop slot or an elite slot in 40k. But of course in Kill Team, do whatever you want. You want to have 2 guys with the high las, 2 guys with the Magna, 2 guys with an ion blaster. Leagues of Votann believe that nothing is worth doing unless it is done well, and they wage war as methodically as any other pursuit. The cost of the fight cannot be justified. They retire from the battle in good order. Every commander, from Thanes to the Grand Leader of an Oath Band, will ensure no kin lives are wasted in victory. Now they're pushing that, and I feel like, because it's GW, and they tend to be pretty good at melding theme with rules, right? I suspect, even though they're talking about that in a thematic way, I would assume that in 40k that would mean they actually have a relatively low leadership, meaning they run away quickly. But, framed in a good way, right? Like, they're not running away, they're tactically retreating to save lives. How's that going to come across in Kill Team? Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. To help limit unnecessary loss of life, squads of Hearthkyn often go to battle with experienced field medics. Right? Now we're talking Kill Team again. Field medics or skilled engineers for Ironkin, who can tend to any injuries, be they mechanical or meat, no king gets left. Then more to talk about Oathkin. So, we have about 5 or 6 different weapons. I would hypothesize all in the same box. Like just one. I mean, why have multiple kits when you can have one kit that just has a little bit of extra plastic? Like 1 extra sprue that is the entire every single weapon sprue, then everything else is the bodies? Like, that seems like a pretty, the way to go, if you ask me. We then see they're going to have medics and engineers, presumably on the same sprue. And they're also going to have different loadouts for the leader, your Thane. Someone is definitely going to be carrying a digital Book of Grudges, obviously. There's also the potential for unit attachment Ironkin. That'd be pretty cool. And if we scroll up to here, we can take a look at the actual models. Now, I'm not going to critique the models too much, but this guy on the right here, we see pretty standard power sword, plasma pistol. The bread and butter of all Kill Team leaders, right? Guy behind him, for some reason, that guy, I know others have said he looks like one of the guys from some TV show, but he really, to me, looks like Chris Metzen from Blizzard. Or X from Blizzard. Don't know why. Maybe that's just I have the wrong image of him in my mind, but yeah. And I assume that there is the standard, whatever their Autarch pattern bolter, I assume, whatever. Or the Hylas. I don't know what their standard weapon is, I'm going to be honest. We then go over, now we have one of these guys here that has their arm in a fixed position, and he has an antenna, so I assume that we've got a comms. Sorry, let me go back. So here, we've got our 10 guys, right? We've got the Thane, that's the leader. We've got a normal dude. We have a comms, and we have some sort of gunner. Or he's a normal dude, the other guy's a gunner. Or every normal guy is going to have an option of different standard weapon. Much like intercessors can either take, the stalker pattern bolt rifle or the assault rifle, whatever they're called, right? We then go regular guy, Magna rifle. You got to have your sniper, obviously. Is he? Oh, is that a? Hold on, sorry. I've got to check one more thing. Okay, I think so far we don't have a tactical rock. But I think, if I had to guess, I think the rifle, looking at the angle of the foot there, might be on a tactical rock. So he's the actual leader of this. Bizarre, right? So one of them, in a rather weird, stumpy, I'm a short person pose, I know that pose well, with the blade pistol. Like, why would you ever equip that in 40k? No idea. But in Kill Team, that's your melee dude. That's your 3-5 instead of your 2-4, right? Instead of your 3-4, sorry. So that's another dude. You then have another normal gun, and you have whoever this guy is. I would say a different form of comms. This is your guy that passes out the Auspex scanner stuff. Auspex, Omnispecs, whatever. He could also be the engineer, but I think he's the scanner. And that's it. Those are our dudes. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out there was they did mention that your Thane commands all your guys using an inbuilt comm chip. And we know that also happens for Scions. And what is the hypothesis? Vet Guard, they get an order, they can splash it out if you're within 6 with a comms of the leader. And I suspect that when we get Kassakin, if we get Kassakin, they won't need to be within 6 inches of the comms to throw out an order. I'm kind of getting the vibe, same thing here. You will get some sort of order system, but you won't need to be within X of a comms because they will have the inbuilt. They're very high tech. That's how the Leagues of Votann are being pushed, ultra high tech. Basically, thematically, they're human Tau. I mean, they're abhuman. Are they going to be Xenos? I assume they're going to be Xenos because they're not human. Interesting. And they're definitely not Imperium. Like, they might be friendly, vaguely, but they're not. They're dwarves. They're not humans. They are a Xenos race. And guys, I'm all about the Xenos. I just stand. Hey, I have. I'm being a bit more active on my other channel now. It's called Full Scale Wargaming. The reason for that is because every time I've said, "Oh, are you playing Kill Team today?" No, I'm playing the full scale version. So I've called it Full Scale Wargaming. So check me out over there as well. It's primarily 40k at the moment because I just got the Chaos Codex. But you know, also Age of Sigmar, sometimes War Machine. That's all going to be lined up on Full Scale Wargaming. So check me out over there. Coming to here soon, hopefully we're going to hear a little bit about the Warp Coven and the Worm Cult. Because I'm currently in a slightly different location, hence whatever's going on here, right? This recording situation. And those are the two teams I brought with me. Alright, anyway guys, to be Glass Half Dead, I hope you've had a good day. Continue to have a good day.